Okay, that's what we're all going.
The Muscatine City Council will come to order. Fran, would you conduct a roll call, please?
Raywald.
Here.
Fitzgerald.
Present.
Ethick.
Present.
Tahani.
Present.
Bynum.
Present.
Phillips. Spread.
Present.
6 present, 1 absent, Your Honor.
Very good, Fran, thank you. Folks, would you rise and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you and welcome, everyone. We're going to go down to item 4 on tonight's agenda, and that is communications from citizens. But before we do, we have a presentation this evening from the president of the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Greg Jenkins.
Good evening, Council, everybody. I'm Greg Jenkins with the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We come before you tonight seeking further support of this fantastic project that we have that just broke ground last night, the Merrill Hotel and Conference Center. During analysis of the structures adjacent to what will become the parking deck, it was discovered through a Stanley Consultants report that there are structural issues with 120 2nd Street West that need to be mitigated. That given the structural condition of the facility, there are some concerns about its integrity moving forward through the construction process into the future that puts that building, provides some liability for those and some concern that that building would fail. The city staff and we came together and came up with a plan that we believe is the best way to move forward. And that would be to acquire the building, take the building down, and put a green space in that would connect 2nd Street to the hotel and also to the riverfront. Green up, put a sidewalk there and have that green space put in place. And what we're asking from you is to modify the TIF agreement, the tax increment finance agreement between the Riverview Hotel and the city to enable us to move forward with those steps. Ultimately, the hotel would acquire the ground after the construction is completed, and then we would finance these changes through the TIF moving forward. Any questions? So what we seek from you tonight is consensus agreement that we're prepared to move forward with this.
Tom?
I'm fine with it.
Fine. Sama?
Good.
Yeah. Phil?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Mike?
Fine.
Okay. You have it?
Thanks, sir.
You bet. Okay, if there's anyone in council chambers that has an item or an issue they'd like to discuss with council that is not included on tonight's agenda, now would be the time to come to the lectern and share with us your name and address. Very good. We'll move forward to item 5, consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A through B, items 8A through B, items 12A through E, and tonight's bills totaling $1,765,721.69? Looking for
Your Honor.
motion. Motion, Scott.
Second.
Second, Tom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, dropping down to item 7, public hearing. Public comment on environmental assessment availability for the proposed improvement of Mississippi Drive from Main Street to the Norbert F. Becky Bridge. At this time, the public will have the opportunity to comment on the environmental assessment availability for the proposed improvement of Mississippi Drive from Main Street to the Norbert F. Becky Bridge. But before we accept public comments, Greg.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. And while Jeff Hilligans with Stanley Consultants is making his way up, he has a short presentation tonight on the environmental assessment and prior to public comments. I just wanted to be clear and distinguish between the two projects. This is getting us ever so closer to the finding of no significant impact that we've all been looking forward to wrapping up the environmental assessment process This is the culmination of the public comment period again tonight, and with the public hearing. So we have the environmental assessment process, and as the memo notes, 3 to 5 months we should have the FONSI and be done with the environmental assessment process. This is separate and distinct from the Mississippi Drive preliminary design and construction project that we kicked off around a month ago, and I mentioned at our last meeting that our next public meeting will be November 10th, or the evening of November 10th. 2 separate pieces. I just wanted to be clear about that for the public purposes.
Okay.
Jeff?
Okay, thanks, Greg. As you said, my name is Jeff Hilligans, the project manager for the environmental assessment and preliminary engineering for the corridor. I just have a short presentation. Before I do, though, just a reminder, if you haven't already picked it up, we do have a handout that has information about the process, why we're here tonight, a little bit of information about the studies that were completed for the environmental assessment, the right-of-way process, and how to contact us. And then on the back, if you so desire, there is a place that you can submit comments, written comments, that would then be entered into the record for this public hearing. So that is available for you. So as I said, we're just getting to the end of the process for this environmental assessment. We had, previous to this, we had 2 public hearings, or public meetings, and so this is the last public session where we can get comment and input from citizens and from other folks to enter into the record and so that we can complete this process. So I'll just kind of go through the slides here. We'll just talk a little bit about the project limits. As I said, the south end of the project is Grandview Avenue, Main Street, and then it travels north through Carver Corner, through downtown, and then up to the Becky Bridge. This was formerly called Front Street and is now mostly called Mississippi Drive. It also includes a section of 2nd Avenue as well. So a little bit closer look.
Did you mean 2nd Street?
Street, sorry. Okay. Thank you. A little bit closer look here. We split the project up into kind of 4 quadrants, four areas. The Carver Corner area is the southwesterly end, and then we went through the area that we call the high sidewalk bluff area. That's where the bluff goes up next, real close to the road. And then the downtown area past most of the downtown businesses, and then the HNI 2nd Street area. It was just a way that you could see the different sections of the road. There's a little bit different look to some of the areas, so that's why we split the project up that way. So the Phase 1 study process, a little bit about some of the steps we went through. The first thing we do is we do early coordination. That's with different agencies. We send out request for information, request for input early on in the project to get the projects going. We then conduct. We also conduct an alternative analysis. We hold public meetings, this being the 3rd public meeting. Then we assess the impacts to the corridor. We address things like archaeological and historic resources along the corridor. And then we prepare the environmental assessment. And in this case, we had to also do a Section 4F statement. And then we hold a public hearing, which is tonight. And after that, we'll prepare the final document, environmental document, which in this case will be a FONSI, finding of no significant impact. So to date, the task completed, you can see there, tonight is a public hearing. Following this, we'll draft the FONSI. It'll go through another round of regulatory review and then ultimately be signed by Federal Highway Association. That's kind of hard to see. What this is the table of contents from the environmental assessment. We have a copy of it available. There's electronic copies online. There's hard copies here in the City Hall, I think at the library as well. So if you'd like to peruse that, you may. I just wanted to kind of go through the steps that we went through to create this document. First thing that we did, one of the early steps was creating the purpose and need for the project. And that step is kind of the starting point, and it addresses the criteria that we look at through all the other steps of the project. So when we look at the alternatives for construction, when we look at the environmental impacts, the different engineering studies that we do, they're all done with this purpose and need in mind. So that ultimately what we want to do is provide recommendations that meet that purpose and need. So So what we do, once we have a purpose and need, we go through several steps. Construction options are kind of the main engineering document that we come up with. We always look at a no-build option. In this case, a no-build option didn't meet the purpose and need, so that wasn't a viable option. So then we look at several different construction options. And I'll go over those a little bit more in a minute. So, and then the other thing we look at is things like historic and archaeological resources. In this case, on this corridor, we all know that there are current flooding issues. So we look at ways that we might address that issue and improve the condition of the road, and so that you can keep it open more often. And then we also looked at safety issues, in particular pedestrian issues where people want to cross from the parking area next to the river into the downtown area back and forth. So we looked at things like that. We looked at issues of users, non-vehicular users that want to use the corridor, and creating a safer environment for all the users along the corridor. So we looked at a couple of different main geometric options. One of them was a 5-lane option, which you see there. The other one was a 3-lane option. Currently, it's kind of a 5-lane corridor out there. There's 2 through lanes in each direction. There's turn lanes. That was one of the options we looked at, was keeping it kind of the way it is and modifying it here and there. And then we also looked at a narrower cross section. And ultimately, the 3-lane option was the recommended option for the corridor. Another area in particular that we looked was Carver Corner area. As you know, right now there's an offset intersection with Green Street and Hershey Avenue there. We looked at ways that we might improve the safety at that intersection and improve the use going through that area. So several different options were looked at. This one we called the signalized sweeping curve. It's reorienting the road to create a T, and basically making it so that the through traffic was the main. Right now the main movement everyone has to make a turn to get in and out of town. So this would create a through movement for the main movements going through there. Another option we actually looked at several different roundabout options. It's a similar geometry, but the intersection is different in that one. And then ultimately we looked at realigning the intersection to create a crossing intersection at Green and Hershey, and that ended up being the recommended option for this project. So, another thing I guess I'll mention, that there were several impacts to historic properties, and one of the things we looked at was a memorandum of agreement to mitigate any impacts to those properties. So you can see what those are if you look at the studies out in the hall. So I guess that's about it. I didn't want to take too long to make a presentation. The handout really gives you nice information about what the project was all about. We can take questions, we can take comments as we need to.
I have questions.
Questions?
How long do you think that this next step's going to take? Estimate?
Well, from here out, we think that the Fonzie review process, writing the draft and getting it approved will be about 3 to 5 months.
Say again, please.
3 to 5
3
months.
to 5 months.
Yeah, it goes through a fairly rigorous review process with a number of different agencies, so that can take some time.
So the 3 to 5 months, is that phase one, or is that the completion of the whole project?
That would be the completion of this phase of the project. That'd be the preliminary engineering and environmental assessment process.
What would be phase two? The design at that
Yeah,
time?
the final design would be the next
Okay.
step, you know,
All right.
which, yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else, council? Very good, thank you, Jeff. Okay, I'll go back and read the main paragraph again. At this time, the public will have the opportunity to comment on the environmental assessment availability for the proposed improvement of Mississippi Drive from Main Street to the Norbert F. Becky Bridge. We've heard a little bit from Greg, and we've heard from Jeff, and now is the time for the public to comment. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to come to the lectern and comment? Okay, I will entertain a motion to close.
Close.
Second?
Oh, who was that? Mike?
Mike.
Okay. Mike and Scott, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item B. This public hearing concerns a proposed urban renewal plan amendment for the consolidated Muscatine urban renewal area. The amendment of the plan will facilitate the undertaking of a new urban renewal project consisting of providing tax increment financing support to Union Tank Company. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to address this?
I'd move to, oops, excuse me. Oh, I'd move to close the public hearing.
Phil?
Second.
Second, Tom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item C. This public hearing concerns a proposed development agreement with Union Tank Car Company authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. The city is proposing to enter into an agreement with Union Tank Car Company in connection with the expansion of the company's coating and repair shop facilities, operations, and expansion of the company's coating and repair shop. Oh, I duplicated my efforts there. Operations and workforce in the consolidated Muscatine urban renewal area. The agreement will provide financial incentives to the company in the form of the annual appropriation incremental property tax payments in an amount not to exceed $45,000. Prior to any action, formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment. Anyone in council chambers wish to address this?
Move to close.
Motion to close, Osama, and a second, Scott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item D. This public hearing concerns the proposed community development block grant revitalization project. The City of Muscatine received and accepted a grant from the Iowa Economic Development Authority to complete this project. HBK Engineering has completed the design of the project and is ready to move it forward. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment. And is there anybody in council chambers that wishes to address this?
Move to close.
Motion to close, Scott.
Second.
And a second, Tom. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, dropping down to 11 from the city administrator, 11A, resolution approving urban renewal plan amendment for the consolidated Muscatine urban renewal area. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So move.
Bob? Second, anyone?
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion? This is a roll call, beginning with Bob.
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item B. which is a resolution approving development agreement with the Union Tank Car Company, authorizing annual appropriation tax increment payments and pledging certain tax increment revenues to the payment of the agreement. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Tom?
Second.
And a second, Scott. Any discussion? It's also a roll call, beginning with Tom.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
And Mike?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item C, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution consenting to assignment of the Muscatine Mall Development Agreement and finance increment payments. The city previously authorized and entered into a development agreement with the Financial District Properties MM LLC, KRE LLC, and Mogul Holdings LLC, collectively the original developer. The original developer is requesting City Council consent to the assignment of all of its rights and responsibilities under the agreement to Muscatine Mall Management II LLC. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Tom? Second, anyone?
Second.
Who was that? Phil? Phil, any discussion?
How many years left on that contract between the city and the mall?
Oh, man. Nancy, do you remember off the top of your head?
Yeah, it was. All right.
I was going to say somewhere between then. 14. That sounds close.
Reasonable.
Oh, I don't.
Anyone else, council? We have a motion and a second discussion. It says a roll call, beginning with Tom.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
And Mike?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item D, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, cost estimate, and setting the bid opening date for the Community Development Block Grant Downtown Revitalization Project. The City of Muscatine received and accepted a grant from the Iowa Economic Development Authority to complete this project. HBK Engineering has completed the design of the project and is ready to move the project forward. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Scott?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Osama. Any discussion? This is a roll call, beginning with Scott.
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And Osama?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item E, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the contract and bond for the runway renovation project. On October 1st, 2015, City Council awarded the contract for this project to Manats of Brooklyn, Iowa, in the amount of $3,985,699.84. It is now appropriate to approve the contract and bond for this project. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So move.
Mike?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Osama. Any discussion? It's a roll call, beginning with Mike.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And Phil?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item F, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution accepting the completed work for the 2015 asphalt overlay program and authorizing final payment to the contractor. In June 2015, City Council awarded the contract from this project to Iliwa Investments Incorporated in the amount of $548,070.80. Additional work added to this project totaled $42,826.65 for a final project total of $590,899.45. It is staff's recommendation the work be accepted by City Council and final payment made to the contractor. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Your Honor.
Ooh, we'll give that to Bob. And a second, Scott. You okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay,
The amount of $548,000 it's a little less than we expected. Is that correct? About $8,000 less?
Randy?
How did we achieve that?
I don't know that we had a specific amount that we expected. We set aside so much money for street improvements annually, and with the overlay work takes up the bulk of that. We also look at like full depth patch possibly to come out of that. X amount of money that we set aside comes out of the 1 cent local option tax, which is $500,000 that, and the balance are the road use tax funds. So the, 548, which also this year included the new gas tax, did enable us to have enough money to be able to do this. So I don't know, Mike, that we had a specific dollar amount that we said we're going to spend $500,000 or $600,000 on, but
I mean, the contract had a dollar amount on it, though, didn't it?
Pardon me?
The contract had a dollar amount, didn't it?
the contract, the amount on the contract was, 548?
Okay. And the other 42,000 plus, was that a change order, or how did we do that?
Now, we decided we were originally just going to do a part of Lucas Street, and considering how much funds we had available, we decided to do all of Lucas from Hauser out to the bypass, when in fact, when we originally went out for bids on this, we were only going to do about a block because of what funds we had available. The other street that we added to this was West 3rd Street up here between Sycamore and Iowa, which was an additional, but probably the biggest, I won't say cost, but the thing that we experienced is that we discovered over on Mulberry when we milled that off, that a lot of the crown was built with rock, and from years ago when it had been put in. And made our speculation, and I probably go back far enough to, I should be able to remember that, but the, it could have been the money was tighter then, and we needed that kind of a base to establish a crown to get the street resurfaced. Well, it doesn't hold up as well as just the regular asphalt surface, so this time we removed the rock and we had to put in some additional material on Mulberry to get the crown we wanted. So that's the difference, the $42,000 difference.
Was that something we approved or had needed to approve? I don't remember.
No, you didn't approve it. I approved it. It was something that they're doing at the time, and it's either we leave Mulberry go for 2 weeks or we get her done in 2 days.
Well, I didn't mean that part of it, but I meant the $42,800. The $42,828.
Well, it was, again, the part of it is, the answer to your question is no. It did not come before the city council. The decision was made out of Public Works that instead of just doing this block on Lucas, let's do the full thing. And so we went ahead because we had the funds available for it.
When did the extra gas tax money kind of kick in?
I'm sorry, Scott.
The extra gas tax,
The extra gas tax helped.
when did it kick in?
About a month after the legislation took effect,
May.
the March.
March, okay. So that
Yeah, that helped a lot too, and will help a lot going forward.
This year, during the budget process, I mean, we haven't started, but we're speculating that it could be closer to $900,000 that we'll be able to move to annually in maintenance rather than the $500 that we've and change that we've been able to do historically.
Great.
So, are we happy for the work constructed between the 9th and 11th on Mulberry? Are we happy with that work?
Between 9th and 11th.
in front of
Oh, that was part of the Mulberry project that we did.
Are we happy with the work?
Yes. I mean,
Oh, I thought it was my driving, but are we?
it probably was.
I mean, it's.
well, it could be, Osama.
Well, no, it's not. I can tell you that. It's
Now that you
not.
bring it
I've been
up.
going the speed limit here, but I don't know if
A
you
little
guys are
bumpy
happy
on
with
for you?
that work. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's
I
not
had not
even, I
noticed
think.
that, and I had not heard that until right now. But, Randy and I'll go out there and take a look at it, okay?
Yeah,
It's
it's,
just a different color.
Check your
I'm
tires.
glad you have your
Osama.
glasses on. I'm glad you have, I'm glad you have your glasses on.
I think we ought to check his tires.
Yeah.
Anything else, counsel, for Randy?
Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Scott, and I'm assuming discussion is concluded. This is a roll call, beginning with Bob.
Aye.
Osama?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item G, Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution accepting completed work for the 2015 sidewalk program and authorizing final payment. In June 2015, City Council awarded the contract for this project to All American Construction in the amount of $146,267. There were no change orders, and the final contract amount was $120,463.39. It is staff's recommendation the work be accepted by City Council and final payment made to the contractor. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Scott?
Second.
And a second, Phil. Any discussion? Randy?
Just for a point of clarification, the number that you read for the final amount is actually $126,072.44, not $120,463.
126,
126,072.44.
I see. I don't know how that happened.
So did the amounts vary, or Randy? Why is it $20,000 less, basically? Is it,
You know, it's interesting, at the staff meeting the other day, Greg said, should we put this on first ahead of the asphalt overlay or not?
I would have.
No, we have a couple of underruns coming in here, so I like to run on a good note. Jim, I think Jim can explain it better, Phil, than I can, so.
Well, they probably bid amounts, and the amounts were less, or something, just,
When you do a contract like that, you estimate certain quantities. Part of that savings is we estimated a fairly large area, either side, right and left of that sidewalk, that we were going to have to restore and sod. And to be quite honest, there was an area that we intended to sod that we just seeded, and a lot of those areas ended up being less. And that had a lot to do with that money amount that was saved in there.
okay. That's what I assumed, but, okay.
Anyone else, Council?
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Let's see, is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted? We have a motion by Scott and a second by Phil. And discussion, so this is a roll call beginning with Scott.
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And Osama?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item H, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to authorize submission of the fiscal year 2014-2015 annual financial report to the state of Iowa. This report includes all budgeted funds of the city and was prepared on a budget basis. Revenues and other financing sources total $70,865,784 for the year, and the expenditures and other uses totaled $58,322,266. Actual city expenditures in each functional area were within the budgeted amounts as required by the state. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Phil?
Second.
And the second, Osama. Any discussion? And this is a voice vote, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item I, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve an updated memorandum of understanding, or MOU, with the Iowa Department of Administrative Services, DAS, for the city's participation in the State Income Offset Program. The DAS recently updated the language in the MOU agreements with participating entities. The update centers on the appeal process participants must have in place. The city has had an appeal process in place, but staff is in the process of formalizing this process. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Tom?
Second.
And a second, Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item J, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to authorize the issuance of a purchase order for the 2015-2016 snow removal in the Central Business District and city parking lots. One bid was received from Bayfield Snow Removal. The hourly rate has increased to $20 per hour on the end loader and road grader and increase $5 per hour on dump trucks and pickups with snowplows. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So move.
Bob?
Second.
Second, Osama. Any discussion? Also a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item K, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a professional services agreement for the update on the master plan for Riverside Park. The city is in need of an updated master plan for Riverside Park, and the timing is ideal as it will dovetail with the upcoming Mississippi Drive Corridor project. Smith Group JJR was responsible for the previous master plan. Using Smith JJR, coupled with Bolton Mink, the Mississippi Drive engineers, the city will be establishing a well-conceived and well-designed plan for the central business district. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Scott?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Tom. Any discussion?
Phil.
What did I say, Tom? Sorry, Phil.
That's all right. He's been called a lot worse.
Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item L, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to authorize the purchase of a vehicle for the police department. 2 bids were received for the replacement of an existing Chevy Tahoe with a 2016 Tahoe. The low bid from Krieger Auto Group in the amount of $36,750. There is $42,000 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
That was Phil.
That is Phil.
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Osama. Any discussion? All
What was
those
the amount, 36 what?
36015.
36,750?
That was 36015 on mine.
Different number here.
That is what it is on yours, but this is the
Changed to
correct.
36,750.
Oh.
When they did the bid, did the bids and everything, they figured in the 2%, and they shouldn't have. So the actual bid amount
Well,
is
that's what I'm reading here.
Oh.
Any other discussion?
Why do we need a Tahoe?
Pardon me?
Why do we need a Tahoe?
Do we have someone, Phil?
Phil needs a new vehicle. He likes Tahoe.
Historically, we have had a four-wheel drive Chevy Tahoe for supervisor use. Also, we are in the process of moving a lot of our vehicles from the smaller, cramped police Interceptor to the SUV. They get the same gas mileage as the sedans do, and they have a lot more room for the equipment we need and also be able to transport people.
Thank you.
And if I could add to that, we also talked about at budget time, we were going to be comparing the use of a traditional squad car versus a four-wheel drive and be able to present that evidence or that information back to council.
Yes.
So this says we're replacing the old unit. What happens to the old one?
The old one will be moved to replace a 2009 Chevy or Ford police squad car. That police squad car will be retired. The previous Chevy Tahoe will be put into play for patrol use as needed.
Anyone else, council? Okay, we have a motion and a second and discussion. This is a voice vote. Again, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item M, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to authorize the purchase of a combination sewer cleaning machine, jet vac. 3 bids were received with the low bid from Truck Country in the amount of $346,178, and the alternate bids totaling $6,850 for the alternate debris body ejector unloading and compaction dewatering system and hydro excavation king for a total of bid amount of $353,028. There is $400,000 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Bob?
Second.
And a second, Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item N, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to extend no parking on Webster Street. A no parking sign currently exists on the north side of Webster Street by Isaac Avenue, but when vehicles are parked across from one another, it is difficult to see traffic that is eastbound on Webster or turning west from Isaac. The Traffic Committee is recommending moving the no parking sign further west by a portion of Webster that is wider for parked users. This should provide ample parking and open up Webster and/or Isaac intersections more for motorists. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Bill?
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item O, presented for City Council's consideration is a request from the Fire Department to purchase 2 Toughbook laptop computers. The purchase of these 2 laptops will properly outfit the ambulances with the hardware needed for the new patient care report software recently purchased. It is staff's recommendation the laptops be purchased from Keltec in the amount of $7,645.42. These computers were not included in the original ambulance budget. However, the actual 2014-2015 ending balance was significantly higher than projected. Therefore, it is being proposed the 2015-2016 budget be amended to include funding for these computers. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Mike?
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item P, presented for City Council's consideration is a request from the Water Pollution Control Plant for upgrades to the final 8 lift stations. The Water Pollution Control Plant has been in the process of updating all lift station PLCs with Microlux PLCs since 2012. A bid was received from Primex Controls, formerly ICS, Healy Ruff, in the amount of $174,680 for the upgrades. Primex Controls was the contractor involved in upgrading the other lift stations and currently has a service contract with the Water Pollution Control Plant. In order to maintain continuity, programming, and service, Primex is the only vendor submitting a bid. There is $180,000 budgeted for the upgrades. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Bill?
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion?
Well,
It's time for the Osama John
I
show.
will just ask one question. Is there anything, it's not brand new down at the water pollution plant yet?
John.
Is there anything, how big is that list? I mean,
Just to be clear, this is not at the plant. This is throughout the community.
Yeah.
There's the lift stations throughout the
you
community.
bet. Okay, well, that's
It's
fine.
tied to the plant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You bet. Anybody else, council?
Yes.
This is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item Q, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the submission of a grant application to the Linking Iowa's Freight Transportation System, or LIFTS, program. The program is a new grant funding opportunity from the Iowa Department of Transportation to seek and address gaps in the module funding to assist in bolstering the freight transportation, whether it be truck, train, barge, airplane, or several modes. Staff is recommending an application be submitted for a planning and feasibility study for a potential intermodal container port facility on the Mississippi River in Muscatine. A grant application for up to $200,000 from LIFTS program is being proposed. The required 20% match will come from private sources. The submission deadline is October 23rd, 2015. And before I go any farther, Dave Gobin, you would like to speak to this item?
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Council. We have a couple of changes that have happened since you've got this memo that are positive that I wanted you to consider as you consider your approval or not approval. The 200,000, I want to get down just to the real numbers here. The $200,000 was what we had originally scoped, which you can see is in the bottom of the memo. There has been some changes. We've talked to our city's counselor. He made some changes, and we worked out some potential adjustments to that scope that would be very helpful. And what this grant does is sets up the larger grants later, once we've completed the study. However, and positively, at the end of yesterday, I received an email directly from the Iowa DOT that said that we could also add the property acquisition to this grant application. And we've got to submit it in a week, so there's some work that's got to be done, including making sure we get the commitment adjusted from our private sources for the 20% match. So we're keeping this outside of city funds being used. And I just wanted to make sure that see if you could probably, as you make your motion, raise that ceiling to whatever we need to do upwards to this 2.6 million. My guess is we're probably going to be $1 million or less, but if we start throwing land at this. And it would be done in 2 stages. One would be to do the planning and study feasibility. And once that's done, it tells us and justifies which, because part of that's boring land, boring the property to see how far down it goes to anchor cranes and such. Then it'll tell us which piece of property to put the terminal port on. So I just wanted to make sure you considered that change as well as increasing the ceiling. I put the ceiling on there when I did the memo based off the scope that's on there, and now we're going to change it a little bit.
Not just a little bit, though, just to be clear, so we're asking for, to submit what's attached at a minimum for the LIST grant, but we'd like to be able to submit up to $1 million grant with a local match to be covered by private sources. So phase 1 would be done first, before phase 2 would be considered. Of course, that would come back to council, and any grant award would come back to council, which would identify the funding for the local match. So there's really kind of 2 pieces to this grant. The opportunity for the land acquisition just became available, and it seemed appropriate. This is a one-time shot at funding, and it seems appropriate to maximize that, given the information we received yesterday.
And considering.
Given the deadline.
And given the deadline.
Right. And there's a private match.
Yes, as
possible.
Indicated, but we would submit the grant application and identify the funding sources before the agreement for the grant would come back to the city council and identify the grant award, the grant amount, and the funding, proposed funding sources for the local match at that point in time. We would clarify that.
That's right. If we don't submit for it all at the same time, they won't be allowed a second chance at second bite at this apple. So, and they don't have another one of these scheduled to be funded next year, so we can't wait till next year. So we wanted to have that at least applied for at this stage.
That would give us between now and the grant award to finalize the scope of services and we'll include the minimum scope of services in the grant application, but that'll give us the opportunity to finalize everything and bring that back to council. Should we, when we are awarded, hopefully, a LIST grant.
There you go.
Is that clear to everyone on council?
It is, yeah, perfectly.
All right, thanks, Dave.
David, while you're there, what regulatory approvals are we going to have to endure?
Actually, I had a meeting with the Army Corps today. Those are primarily most of the regulatory approvals that we're going to need. They want to encourage us. The question is whether we were going to convert an existing terminal that's either abandoned or underutilized, or build a new one. Well, and that's going to all of those.
EPA or any of that? Any
EPA?
snail darters involved?
Well, generally the Army Corps steps in as our advocate to any other EPA.
Oh, that'll help.
So that's how that would work. And USDOT also steps in as well.
And we, of course, have the IEDA study that will support the application.
That's right.
As well.
That's right. There's 2 freight studies that have been done, one by the whole state, and then one that's been done for the bi-state area. And both of them will justify, having to have a port terminal in the eastern Iowa on the Mississippi.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else, council? Okay, is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. And amended to $1 million.
Give that to Tom.
million, yeah.
And a second, Phil.
Yep.
Any further
I
discussion?
just say as amended, not as submitted. I mean, we're with this change in understanding, right? That's what we're voting on?
Right.
Yeah,
As amended.
As amended.
as amended, yes.
$1 million, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, the motion and a second, and discussion is concluded, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item R, the one we've been looking for, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve Amendment Number 3 to the base agreement with Stanley Consultants for the Mississippi Drive Corridor Project. The approval of this amendment will allow the consultant to complete historic work as outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding with the Iowa Department of Transportation. Completion of this work will allow 80% of the costs to be covered under the federal grant. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
And a second, Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item 14, communications from council members. We'll begin with Mike.
I had submitted an agenda item that didn't make it on the agenda. I was curious why that was.
We had a original request, asked for clarification, and thought the question was asked and answered through the process, and then I see there was an additional email today, so Jim is certainly here, and Randy, and Bill has joined us as well, so.
So you assumed I didn't want it on an agenda item?
Yes.
That was not a good assumption.
We didn't get a response back, and it looked like it was asked and answered, so.
Let me, Bill, you're going to help me up there?
I'm getting there.
What are we doing?
Well, we're under communications from council members, and Councilman Raywald is the first one under the gun, and
Oh, yeah, his
he's
presentation.
taking the liberty.
Jim, what?
Jim, yeah. Bill or Dave or something.
Jim and Andrew Fangman seem to be the two that know how to operate this. They always get stuck doing it. Don't go over, Jim. This is the 200 block of West 5th Street that's just been paved. And how do I flick to the other picture, sir?
I asked for the clarification of it to make sure that I got.
Oh, you didn't get 3?
It's
Okay, well,
I don't know.
okay, we'll wing it.
Okay.
Let me go up to the picture.
That's what this year's going on.
Mike, you have to stay by a microphone.
No.
Okay, but I'm telling you, you have to stay by a microphone. Mike, you have to stay by a microphone.
To be heard.
That's essential.
You'll see in the background, yeah, would you please? You'll see in the background in the 300 block, I guess it is, the outlines of the trees in the 300 block. Yes, please, thank you. The 200 block, as you see, was completely denuded. And I understand they have to, it's that the contractors has the authority to do that. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I talked to Jamie Heyer, and he said his machine takes approximately 2 feet plus or minus beyond the curb line to place the string properly that guides the final machine. I don't know that those trees were within 2 feet, but I guess my question is, can staff figure out a way that we don't have to denude the town of all our trees when we redo a street? It just seems criminal to cut down all those trees that take 50, 75 years to grow. Might be easy and simple and quick for the contractor, but boy, it sure is not pretty. So I don't know what you can do, but I think we'd like to have you think about it and offer some suggestions. That's all I have. Please.
Sure can, Randy.
Mike, we love the trees as much as anybody else. It's not our intent to go in and strip a city block of the trees. A lot of these trees, like you said, they were old. They were also not street trees by what we consider to be appropriate trees to plant in the right-of-way area. They had grown into the curb, they had grown over the sidewalk. Some of them were partially dead. And a lot of the roots were in some of the sewer systems and the water lines. And what we have every intention of doing is going back and replanting trees along this street and any place else where we take trees out. And not only that, we will go to the property owner that's adjacent to it and show them the list of the approved street trees that the city has and ask them which they would like to have planted out in front of their property and to start that again. And as these grow, we will now have the trees that are more suited for street trees instead of these big, beautiful trees that actually have grown too big for the space that they have. Now, going forward, if we want to pay a contractor more to dodge around trees, you know, that if cost is not an issue, then I guess that is one thing that we can look at. But I'm not so sure that that necessarily is the best way to go, nor is it the best way for the contractor to install the street. I do think that it is an opportunity, even though we have to take these trees out, to put in the right kind of trees that will grow up and be just as beautiful as the ones that came out.
And once you disturb the root system, whether it's tearing up the sidewalk or tearing up the street, it's most likely going to die within 3 to 5 years or less at that point in time. And this is a bit of an anomaly as well. If you look at the CSO project up in this entire area, there's not many streets where this many trees had to come out. For the most part, you have a tree here or there, but this is a bit of an anomaly in that.
And next year it'll
CSO
continue up
project.
Fifth Street? Next year, does it continue up Fifth Street next year?
We, do we, Bill? Okay. Doesn't mean all the trees will have to come out, Mike, but those, I mean, again, it is the contractor's prerogative. And Matt is here, he could tell you about all the root balls he finds in the city sewer or in laterals that are a result of trees that are planted over the sewer lines and the water lines. And, you know, that's just something that you'll have to cope with forever. But if you start putting in the right kind of trees, you know, this, you know, 5 years from now, this street's going to look really, really nice. And I'd go to Colorado right now and look at all the trees we put in over in Colorado as a result of that project. And I'll guarantee you, in 5 years with those growing up, that's going to be one beautiful street.
Yeah, if you could think, Randy and your team, how we can maybe save some of those. And the next block has probably, I didn't count it, but I bet 20 trees in there. If we could save some of them, that'd be great.
Okay, Mike, and we will. But I want to emphasize, we want the trees as much as anybody else, okay? We're just not going in there to deforest the city. But there's a practical side of it from the construction end. But we will make our very best effort moving forward to look at what we can do to preserve the trees.
Fine. If you'd report back on how you might be able to change it or recommend to the contractors or change the contractor after you think about it, that'd be appreciated.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you.
Bill?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Scott?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Osama?
I have nothing, thank you.
Bob?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Tom?
Just real quickly, Tuesday night there was a candidates forum and an issue came up. I'm not sure everybody understands with the new trash receptacles that if you need a bigger one, you can get one. And I just thought it would be appropriate to remind everyone again, if you need more capacity, please call Laura Legis. She'll take care of you.
Well,
They go from 65 up to 95, is that correct? 60 to 95?
65 is the one that's issued. I think 30 is the smallest, and 95 is the largest.
and I was informed, and it may be wrong, I may misunderstood, but I thought you could also get a second container if you felt, for some reason, you have that much trash to get rid of.
At additional cost.
I believe it's just the one that we determined during the process that you can have one. But if you want a larger one at the 95 gallon, you can request a larger 95 gallon, but not two. That
See,
kind
I
of defeats.
misunderstood
That defeats
then.
the purpose of the program and the efficiency if we end up having multiple.
Sure. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay. Greg?
Yes, Your Honor, you had received a request from Bi-State and to have a joint meeting with the county in regards to a Red Cross and Bi-State individual presentations. And my understanding that it's a Red Cross presentation on, they're looking for feedback on emergency services in the region and then compiling information. That's about all I know. I got a request today asking if the council is, one, interested in having a joint meeting on those two topics, if there are additional topics that the council would like to discuss, and then I have some additional dates. So maybe the first two questions would be well, I guess the first question would be appropriate. Is that something that we're interested in holding a joint meeting on? And if so, then I can go to the next questions.
Sure. Doesn't hurt.
That's fine.
Communicate and graduate.
The dates provided were October 26th at 5:30, November 2nd, and November 9th at 6:30. Those are all Mondays, I believe.
Say again, please, November 9?
October 26th, November 2nd, November 9.
All at 5:30?
5:30, 6:30, and 6:30.
I would prefer a 6:30.
In Muscatine?
I do not have a location.
I assume it's in Muscatine.
But yes, in Muscatine.
We get in trouble when we assume.
Greg, could you perhaps email everybody on council so that we're in a position to look at our calendars?
Absolutely.
Get back to you on a date.
Third question, should we limit it to the two topics, or do we want to broaden the discussion items for the joint meeting?
Depends on how long the Red Cross meeting's going to take.
Not knowing what more there is, how long the presentations are, I suggest we leave it to the two topics at hand. And if there's other business, we can schedule another meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, basically.
Thank you very much.
Bet. Fran?
Yes, I owe Jim Edgemon an apology. That item in 11G was my fault. You gave me that new information, but I forgot to change it. So that was my fault.
And I have nothing tonight. Is there any other business, council? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Meeting is
Oh, yeah.
adjourned.
I've been here all my life, so,
That's what I thought.
yeah, it didn't take out